Welcome to the Education in Isolation podcast with me, Angela Connell, where we will explore the challenges of businesses moving from a face-to-face training mode to an online training environment. Many businesses have been caught off guard by the COVID-19 pandemic, but the situation is proving to be a catalyst for new possibilities and opportunities for the training industry. Let me and my guests help you make the most of these opportunities and to navigate the transition so that you and your organisation come out stronger and more resilient than when you went in. Education is the answer and you are the leader. Hi Glyn, welcome to the Education Isolation podcast. Thank you very much for attending. How are you?
Really well, thanks Angela for having me along today. I really appreciate this.
Awesome. So let's share with the audience, who are you and what do you do?
I'm Glin Bayley. I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Heart of Human. I'm a leadership consultant and executive coach, and I work predominantly with female leaders in corporates at C-level and executive level to help them feel unstoppable and essentially have the leadership impact that they desire.
Excellent. And what were you doing before COVID-19? How were you working with your clients?
Okay. The majority of what I did with my clients was face-to-face, either one-to-one coaching or group leadership programs for female executives. Working with large corporates, so most of my work was going into their offices with their teams and their people. So now that we're in the COVID environment, it's very different. Obviously, we're in isolation, we're at home, so it's meant quite a significant pivot in the way I'm working and looking at new ways to bring the same material to my clients, but doing that virtually.
Excellent. So what do you think has been your biggest challenge to your business since COVID-19?
Well, there's been a couple of challenges. I think the initial one is probably the recognition that at this time, when most people are in survival mode, they seem to recognize personal growth and development and investment in their teams as discretionary spend. And as I understand, many businesses are struggling with cash flow, trying to navigate their way through this COVID period. So the natural approach to the work I do is that most businesses have pulled the investment, so not investing in their teams, which is a fascinating thing for me to observe, because what I find most curious is at the time when the environment is the most challenging and businesses that going through the most difficult time, leadership's need for strength and confidence to be able to lead in this uncertainty is critical. So actually pulling back investment in people seems actually counterintuitive. So that's one of the challenges I'm navigating is re-educating leaders not to take a wait and see approach of let's wait till see that we're outside of COVID before we start reinvesting in our leadership. I liken it to a sports team that's going through a difficult time and is struggling with the environment they're navigating, taking their coach out of the game and saying, hey coach, we'll wait until the environment changes and then we'll get you back on board when we're good, which is not the time that you need to be eliminating the support that's needed for your people. So that's one interesting challenge is a re-education of taking leaders out of a wait and see mindset into take action now to support your teams through this period. And then the second challenge for me is more of a personal challenge around leveraging technology. So most of my work being face-to-face has now meant I'm needing to go online, and my technical skills and know-how rather limited in that space. So actually now leveraging the expertise of others to help me rebuild what I deliver in a platform that allows me to reach my clients and get them the results whilst working remotely.
So traditionally, in the past, you were delivering training face-to-face at the site of the client. So you're
correct.
Yeah.
So
whereas
in corporate offices. So yes, I go into the boardrooms, deliver my content, and then work with the teams on their site. So now that everyone's working from home, it's doing that virtually.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of them, yeah, they're not in their offices now.
No.
And what we foresee is going to happen is a lot of people will not return back to their offices.
Yeah, there
So
will
in the
be.
future, we're going to need different mechanisms for particularly delivery of training.
Yes, absolutely. And I think whilst there'll be some return to face in the future, I think what happens in this interim period is going to reset a new norm for this environment, where I think there'll be a mixture of virtual and face to face, but there'll be more capability in virtual than there's ever been because of this period in time.
Yeah, yeah. So what has been your hurdles that you've faced and how have you overcome them?
I think for me, around the hurdles, as I mentioned, is one, re-educating people around the need to continue to invest in leadership at this time. Because when you're making decisions in uncertainty, you need strong leaders to be able to do that from a place of calmness, clarity, and considered decision making. And I think with many of the world population navigating fear around COVID, decision making is compromised, and stress is at the highest levels it's been. So helping leaders through that is paramount. So for me, what I've been doing is leveraging Zoom webinars, live mastermind classes to invite leaders on to be able to, one, connect and share about what their challenges are and what's actually going on in their world, but two, to proactively look to problem solve them. So changing the way I work from not just having a leadership course that's pre-planned and taking them through a program, but one that is agile and adaptive to the current environment, and live workshopping through real issues that the leaders are facing.
Yeah. And where we are right now, it's a constant change.
Yeah.
You can't have, like, we were having three rocks that we were focused on in a quarter, and now it's like a constant. We've just got to focus on the now, here and now, right now, which is a lot of teams.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it's in the period that you're looking at really is shortening. So where most businesses were planning annually, they're planning every quarter, what's happening each month. The period that we're reviewing is a lot shorter, and therefore the focus needs to be on the immediate. Where are we needing to elevate our impact and our skills, but then what's that going to be in service of in the long term? So for me, my vision of my business is all around helping female leaders claim their seat at the table. So I know that mission hasn't changed, but how I deliver that now is going to be very different. So it's going to be a combination of virtual programs, live video sessions, live coaching. Bringing other organisations and different businesses together in one room becomes significantly easier to connect leaders together to solve problems. And I think the other hurdle, as I mentioned, was the technology, but leveraging partners to help bring that to life. I'm a big believer in playing to your strengths and knowing what your limits are. And in order to drive performance, that's what leadership needs. So I know my strength isn't in technology and capability around that. So I'm using this time to leverage the skills of others to build a platform that I can use to help deliver my services and my business to the clients that need it, but also get my systems and processes in check for the time that I can have at home to really look at what's needing to be done in my business, because I think it's an absolutely critical thing. And I do believe in 6 months' time it will have set my business up for even better success than prior to COVID, because I'll be more streamlined, I'll be more efficient.
I think there will be a lot of businesses that will be very similar. I think things have started to settle now and people are starting to get some rhythm back, but then when will it change again? That's the thing.
Absolutely. And I think people are adapting to the new norm, but if there will probably be a false sense of everything will return to as it was, and I just don't think it will be. I think if we've avoided technology in the past, then there's going to be a real need to step that up and leverage that in a way that's adaptive to your clients' needs, and those needs are changing daily.
Yeah. Drawing from your past experience working in corporate and knowing where we are now, what do you think would be important areas that leaders now need to focus on?
Yeah. Well, I teach on in my leadership method is a framework for self-leadership, which is the HEART method. And there are 5 components in the HEART method that I share with the leaders that I work with. And HEART is an acronym for HOPE, which is about setting a vision for who you are and where you want to go. So successful leaders know who they are and they know where they want to go, and then they enroll other people on the journey to follow them. The second component is energy. And in this time when mental, emotional, physical health is paramount, with many people working from home for the very first time, being in isolation, navigating the uncertainty, there's a significant amount of fear. And energy is really about finding the fuel to navigate for the journey, the destination that you've set yourself. So I work with leaders on how to manage their well-being, their mindset, but also what does that mean in terms of cultivating the fuel that they need to lead themselves so that their team can cultivate the fuel to go towards the destination they've set and the vision for themselves and their businesses. The third step is action, because as we know, we can know a lot, but unless we actually do it, it's very different. There's no point having a map if you don't, having a map of the destination you want to go to doesn't get you there. You have to actually take the steps to move you forward. So I work with individuals, and as I said, I'm focusing on helping female leaders be unstoppable. So I work with leaders that want to be unstoppable, that are willing to get out of their comfort zone, to take action, much in the same way as I am doing with this whole technology thing. It's not my area of comfort, but I'm focusing on going, if I want to make a difference, that's what I'm going to leverage.
And I think people are struggling with that action side where they feel like they're being held back or because they're uncertain with even their own personal.
And that's where it has to start with that hope. What's your vision for your life, in the future? Like, we're in the here and now, which is really uncertain, but I certainly know that in the future, I still want to have dreams and aspirations of what I want my life and my business to look like. So I'm really focused on still pursuing that purpose and that mission, and therefore that action is driven by something much stronger than the need just to take action for the sake of action in itself. So I think when people are aligned to what they're hopeful for, then their actions become inspired by a meaningful destination that they're seeking to reach. And I think if you're not taking action, it's worth asking yourself that question. Are you actually aligned to, growing the business that you want to grow? Are you in an environment where you're doing what you love, or where you can make the biggest of difference? Because that's gonna be a factor in your inertia. Yeah. The fourth step, as we all need right now in the HEART framework, is resilience. And it's that recognition that times are tough, but what distinguishes between good leaders and those that follow are actually those that have cultivated resilience. So those that are willing to reframe the current constraints that they're facing into opportunities. And much like we've said, is rather than saying, well, let's wait and see and wait till COVID's over before we do anything differently. Resilience is about going, well, why don't we reframe the difficulties we're experiencing into what can we create that can help us? And much what I'm doing in this business is going, right, okay, I'm focusing on pivoting. I know I need to help those leaders make impactful decisions. Therefore, that needs me to be available in the way they need me to right now, which is online. And then the last element is trust, and what we know for certain is that there is nothing certain in life. And if this COVID environment has been anything, is absolutely that anything can happen and the world can change in a heartbeat. So being able to trust yourself, being able to trust others, being able to trust in the environment around you is critical. So they're the 5 components that I teach on, I coach around, and that's how I build a structure for actual strong self-leadership through aligning both your heart and your mind together.
And I think right now, the whole HEART program is crucial for so many leaders, and it is that struggle with trying to get it out there to those people who are now working from home. But I think it's crucial that everyone is working on that and bringing back to their why.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Glin, what has been your biggest achievement?
Oh, my biggest achievement has got to be the fact that I'm not giving up. The way I look at this period of time is recognizing that there's a need to be adaptive to the environment that we're in. So for me, I focused on how can I still stay relevant to my clients? How do I help them lead through COVID? So I'm not focused on here's what we're going to do in an ideal world. I focus on how to deliver solutions that really address the current challenges that my leaders are experiencing, and namely their challenges around how to lead in uncertainty, so how to make decisions and lead in uncertainty with a level of certainty, how to navigate overwhelm and anxiety in this time, because it's an unprecedented time of change, and there's a lot to be done. So especially with leaders that have a significant amount of requirements around their team and leading a business, so they're in seriously senior roles, and therefore what does that mean for them in their leadership is can be quite overwhelming when they're navigating their transition to working from home and having their families around them at the time, and namely around how to set boundaries as well. So I think in this time now more than ever, work and home life is blurred, so how can you still maintain a sense of well-being and performance focus during this time? And that requires really strong boundaries. So I'm helping individuals do that effectively. So I think, my achievement, to answer your question, is still being able to show up and be relevant for my clients. And the bigger achievement, once I'm out through this, is having a stronger business that's actually set up to work remotely online and giving me the freedom to be able to do what I do anywhere in the world. So I think that would be a big achievement by the time this period is done.
I think that's the big thing is you're going to be opened up to a broader audience. You won't be restricted anymore to just local, and particularly when you're working with companies that have numerous offices around Australia and around the world.
Yes,
you'll
indeed.
be able to access more of that. So what are the opportunities that you've identified through all of this?
I think what the opportunities are that I've identified is recognizing that having systems and processes in place for my business will set me up for success beyond COVID in a way that allows me to service the needs of my clients so much better than I've ever been able to do before, because having automation and doing the stuff that I was doing manually myself, or perhaps not needing to have as many clear structures in place, because a lot of what I was doing was face to face. So I think that'll be one upside, is having a much stronger foundational business to help support my clients. Secondly, I think, like, as you mentioned, the global reach. So being able to see that there's opportunities to bring leaders together from all over the world and work with different time zones together to actually create momentum for change. So especially because I focus on female leadership at the senior end of corporate, it's how do you bring like-minded, unstoppable leaders together, and this time allows us to do that with ease. And I think finally, just around being able to see the opportunity in my own personal growth. I think what this time reminds me is all of the work that I've done over the last portion of my career has set me up for this period of time, because despite the challenges around the business, despite the pivoting, what I found through this is just a sense of peace and calm, which shows me what I do is working for myself, which gives me even greater confidence that I can help others lead through this period of time, because I'm doing it myself in my business, and therefore I need to show up for others. And I think certainly, Angela, with the organizations that you work with, training organizations need to recognize that they have to take the lead. They can't be wait and see organizations around, let's wait till COVID is through before we do something differently, because when businesses are in the business of doing what they do, they don't have the headspace to step out and think about what the future vision needs to be for the longer term. And as a leadership consultant and coach, I see this as my obligation to make sure that I'm helping the leaders and clients that I work with see what they need to see for the future to set them up for success. And that's my role in my business, to help them see for themselves what they can't yet see or focus on.
And it sounds like a very exciting sort of future, really, if we are able to work with these leaders, and in particularly getting through what we're going through right now.
Absolutely. I genuinely don't think there's any downside from this experience. If anything, it forces you to lean into the discomfort and go, right, I'm going to do something different. I've been doing LinkedIn videos that I never thought I'd be doing. So even from my own personal perspective, I'm doing different things that I wouldn't have done, but all in the service of ultimately our clients need the work that we provide, and it's
Certainly.
up to us as leaders to keep showing up and giving them that opportunity to access it.
Yeah. So this leads me into the question of, where do you see your business in 6 to 12 months' time? And in particular, how will it be different from what you were doing before?
Yeah, it's great. Where I see my business in 6 months' time is having a much stronger foundation at a technology perspective, doing more online. So actually being able to leverage what I do by recording programs, having people access the foundations of what I deliver online. So there are a number of things that when I'm working with different people, I see the same issues coming up over and over again. What this has enabled me to do is to say, well, I see those consistent themes coming through. So why don't I create a program or a video program that allows people to access the common challenges that they face, and therefore convert a lot of what I'm doing into evergreen content that allows people to be supported. But secondly, also then to be able to shift my business into then creating more of the live mastermind coaching support at a group level that allows commonalities between leaders to be shared across industry, across countries and time zones. And I think that's what I'm excited about most, is to say, how do I scale my business now that I'm leveraging more online solutions, which means I can do more with less.
Yeah,
which I'm really excited about.
Really exciting.
Yeah,
I think there's so many opportunities for so many businesses, and particularly working in the training industry, where we really right now need to get our training out there to our 100%. Audience.
Yeah, we do, and we'd be doing them a disservice if we waited to see until everything was back to face before we did anything. I think it's an opportunity missed.
Yeah, certainly. So how do you keep motivated every day?
I do what I love, and I think that keeps me motivated. I guess one slight distinction for me is I use the word inspiration over motivation, because inspiration is something you feel pulled towards doing, whereas motivation is something that I sense sometimes you have to push against to get to. I have to be motivated to get fit, whereas if I'm inspired to have a healthy body and a healthy mind, then I'll choose the activities that support that inspiration. So I choose to do things that I'm inspired by every day. I do something each day that I do just for fun, that isn't about achievement. And when you're a type A, just achievement, but about appreciating and enjoying life. So stay focused is good. And now I
can the ice cream truck.
So I can hear the truck. So that's definitely one bonus of COVID, because I'm at home and that's taking me back to my childhood. So getting an ice cream would be nice.
Yeah, and keeping motivated.
Absolutely, totally. So good.
Yeah, it's so different how we work now. It's we have these outside noises that come in, and this is actually a great way to end our interview today, thinking about ice cream. Thank you so much for thank you so much for being in our podcast, Glin. It was so interesting and so insightful, looking at the leadership side and very much the mindset of what we need as leaders right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. And thank you so much for having me along. And I'm excited to see how things unfold for the both of us.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you. You've been listening to the Education in Isolation podcast with me, Angela Connell. If you'd like access to the show notes and other resources to find subscription options, you can find us at educationinisolation.com. The Education in Isolation podcast is proud to be part of the Experts on Air podcast network.